Hey there, this is Roxana Bangura of the Bangura Chronicles, Diaspora Voices for Black Sit Radio, and the Roxana Bangura channel on YouTube. I have the pleasure of chatting with April Sanchez Watts, and she's a sister from Alabama, but she resides in New Orleans or outside of New Orleans with her husband and her children. And she's agreed to, she's been kind enough to talk to me about the different transitions that she's made. She's a business owner, she's an entrepreneur, she's a financial professional, and she's a wife and a mommy. So, welcome, welcome.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, good, good.
Good. Thank
Um,
you so much for having me and
oh,
listening to
thank you
my
for coming
experience
on.
and being interested. Oh,
Thank you for coming on. Right before we went live, we were talking about basically the language barriers and Spanish. So share with me your, her husband, your husband's country and well, country of birth, but
oh,
it's, share your story.
oh. So I've remarried. So my
Hmm.
last name is still Sanchez, but I've remarried, and my husband
Hmm.
now is American. But
Hmm.
my previous husband was Honduran,
Hmm.
and and he didn't speak English when we met. We
Hmm.
used a lot of the translator, and
Hmm.
over time, it delayed me from learning Spanish. Like I didn't learn Spanish because he learned English,
Hmm.
um, but now I'm remarried, so
Hmm.
that's a whole story. Oh my God, we got lots to talk about.
Okay.
So
So
my
you're
husband
going
now
to
yeah,
is Honduran. So isn't your husband now is from Honduras?
my husband now is from New Orleans. He's from
Oh,
New
okay, New Orleans.
Yes, he's from the
Okay.
States. He's American.
So this is a plot twist. So
Right, I'm
um
bringing sand to
this
the
is a
beach
plot
this
twist,
time.
y'all.
Yes, I'm
I,
bringing
I,
sand to the beach. I'm
I,
not. I'm not.
I-
Ah!
so help me figure this out. Okay, why are we going to the Caribbean and South America with your American husband?
I'm tired of the States. Ever since I've come back, when I came back, when I visit Honduras,
Hmm.
I moved to Honduras in 2017
Hmm.
after having a baby in November. Uh, I left the next February, so we had planned like about 4 months that as soon as I have the baby, because my husband was deported. So after I had the baby, the get the passports, pack up pack up the house, sell everything I own, and
Hmm.
that's what I concentrated from the time I had the baby till I left in February the 6th, I think. Um,
So let me ask you, the motivation was that your husband had to leave the country. There was no, he was getting deported.
mhm.
From the time you knew that he was getting deported to the time actually, how did that realization come about that, oh my goodness, my husband, the life that as we know it is going to change drastically? How did you process that
Um,
whole thing?
we had I did. I was having another child, so we had just had a baby, and
Hmm.
that was number 7 for me.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I got this is I had grown babies, I had one graduating. It was just a lot of moving pieces. So I took my children and I decided to take a break. I was
Okay.
I was a mommy for a long time and very successful raising children, and I've always been the alpha mom. So I just says I stopped and just looked at it like for 5 years I'm gonna wait. It's gonna be impossible for me again to raise children on my own with a newborn and a 1-year-old. So I just when he was being deported, I said I'm leaving.
Okay, and that was that.
That
How
was it.
was the trend? Now, what about, because we have community, right? And
Yeah.
how was the community, your family, your friends, your coworkers, or whoever you were around you, were they supportive of your move to Honduras, and how did you handle that? No.
Um, I was already considered a wild card. So
Okay.
I lived in New Orleans. I never lived around my family. But
Okay.
when once they realized that I was serious, I'm moving to Honduras. They knew that my husband was
Hmm.
deported, and
Mm.
and they were thinking that that's just after I start selling everything I own, they realize that okay, either we get on board with supporting her, or we're gonna. So even my ex husband, my first husband, we share 5 children with each other, and
Hmm.
um, my other 2 children were is my new husband. So he was like, I had all the children, and I was like, hey, I'm leaving the country, and you gotta
How did that go down? Yeah, I could imagine.
it
I could
got
imagine.
real, yeah. It once everybody realized, okay, you either support her,
Get on
you know,
or get left,
or get
right?
left. So even my
Hmm.
best friend, it was about a week. She hadn't talked to me all during my pregnancy. We had fallen out, and she she was like, you're leaving. I mean, 2 weeks prior to me um leaving, we got reconnected, and she was like, you're leaving. So we had to. It was a lot of either y'all, I'm leaving.
You're leaving. Now, what about the children? How did the children adjust to the idea that not the babies per se, but the older children? How did they adjust to that?
Uh,
Mommy, how was that?
Luckily, I had 2 graduating that were going to college, they were going to college,
Okay,
and they were going to college. So they were,
so they're doing their own life. Yeah,
yeah,
they're
they were
starting
like,
out life.
yeah, we're going to college. So I wasn't going to steal their shine. They were going to
Hmm.
college.
Hmm.
And my at then they were 10, my I think 8 and no 8 and 10 year old. They were 8 and 10. No, they were I think 10 and 11 or something like that. Then 9 and 11, that's what it was.
Hmm.
So they were boys, and they really needed to be with their dad. And so I had been campaigning that I had raised the first, it's time. I had been campaigning that, hey, these are boys.
I hear you. I hear
And
you.
that was the
You've been
second
doing the heavy
summer.
lifting. You've been doing the
Yeah,
heavy lifting.
I
I,
did the first one. I
yeah,
did these are boys. So once
yeah.
you realize that
Oh,
these are
I
boys,
identify with that, and I have a girl that's with her daddy. Huh. So
so
I identify with that. I didn't
it's
have the baby by myself.
and the families like your family's like,
You're,
what do you mean you're leaving your kids
hmm,
with the
yeah, that's their father.
he the pappy, he left them kids with me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I'm a girl mom, so I salute you. Been doing the
Yeah.
heavy lifting. It's like, okay, release. Yeah, absolutely. People don't understand it. It's
So
it's so intense when you're a single parent. It's so intense. Um, all right, so we've decided we're taking the children, we're going to Honduras.
yeah.
How was it upon arrival? How was the transition to
Um,
Honduras while you were there? How were the locals? How were you received?
um, entering that I had a baby, so they had 2 carloads to come get us in the middle of the night, and we in San Pedro Sula. So we were outside of San Pedro, probably about 45 minutes outside of San Pedro in Villanueva,
Okay.
and so the plane landed at the plane dropped with 3 children was crazy. But
Mm.
getting to the airport in the middle of the night, still had to go through immigration. A lot of people don't realize you can't just go on in another country. You still have
No,
to
no,
get
no.
interviewed.
Hmm.
A lot of them.
It's a process. It's a
It's a
process.
process. So
Hmm.
that I didn't know we were. I was leaving the country. That's all I knew. So and so the once I got there, they did an interview. My husband and his family was there
Hmm.
to greet us, and it was kind of like it wasn't the airport that I left from.
Okay.
It wasn't the same. It was like what
Okay.
it was a little
It was
sketchy.
different.
Yeah, it was different,
Okay.
but it was
Okay.
it's,
That's beautiful though that if two carloads of his family came, that's a
yeah.
beautiful welcoming, you know.
And where they didn't
Um
have cars, they didn't have cars. So the
so it was a
neighbor, yeah.
so the community came together to receive you all. I think that's
Oh yeah.
beautiful. It could be it's a It's like a double-edged sword. I find, being very communal and five fingers make a
Wow.
fist could be a very good thing, but then it can also be very problematic at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about life in Honduras the first time around. What
Mm.
was it? What were your days like? How did the children adjust? How did you adjust?
The even being in the groups, nothing prepared me for the culture shock. Nothing prepared me for the culture shock. Different things like me being on the phone with my husband and like, what is that? And so the culture shock of not having water at your disposal is culture shock. And we didn't just like you did nothing prepared me. Even being in the groups, nothing prepared me. We were living in a nice area in a house that his brother owned, and one room was air conditioned, so it was all out. They went all out for it.
Yeah.
And my American self was like, no. Mm-mm. So, the culture shock of having to stay in that house, and the water came every 3 days. It was unbelievable. I didn't understand. I could not.
So when you say every 3 days, you didn't have water from a faucet?
Um, it came on in the thing on top of the house, the reservoir on
Hmm.
top of the house,
Hmm.
and in that house it did not. His brother house, it was set up like that when we first came from the. Maybe we stayed about 3 days there, but ultimately we moved into his other brother's house, and it came every 3 days, which means it filled up to I forgot what you called it, but it filled this thing up, and you got the water, and it came
Probably
in
in
these
Mexico they
barrels.
call it a tinaco. Okay, so
Yeah,
the tinaco on the roof would come every 3 days. But okay, in the second house where it was a little more, let's say, rougher living, there was no
yeah.
faucet. There was no faucet. Like I'm trying to understand. When
No,
did
you
you
had
have like
barrels. You had barrels of water in the tub.
oh,
Yeah. So I was
mm,
like, I cried for culture shock. I cried for I was like, you got maybe a week before I started telling the shipping company that just kind of just I had things that was shipped there, and it ultimately the next week we moved into a new home, beautiful home. It was a brand new home, and it was like a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, $120 a month. It was just beautiful, guarded
oh wow.
community, and so those things people don't understand that you have to consider. You could see the culture, but being in the culture and having to go to sleep and kill mosquitoes and look at geckos on the wall is something different.
Mm,
So you have to. We're not used to that.
mm-hmm.
We're not used to
Yeah.
riding down the street and seeing iguana on the house.
Wow. That's tropical living. That's
So
tropical living.
yeah, but it was
So
beautiful.
then,
It didn't take long to just start appreciating instead of being. You had to leave your American culture behind.
and there's always that transition and adjustment. And obviously, if you're, not having access to regular water, I mean, that's really, that's pushing it for anyone. For anyone. So how long, what did you do? Were you obviously you're taking care of two children and then your other older children. What happened with their schooling? How was the
Um,
language situation with Spanish?
Only took three. So my last three is was
Hmm.
which was she was about to turn 5. I mean, about to turn 6. So she was
Hmm.
entering into kindergarten, and I had a 3 month old and
Hmm.
a not a 1 year
A
old. Not
toddler. A
yeah. Well,
toddler.
I had two children in 1 year,
Hmm. Hmm.
so they're both the same age for a month.
Okay.
Um, so they were both babies. They were both nursing and one formula. So it was
That's intense.
that was
Sounds
intense. I was
intense.
trying to get off the nursing so I can get so
That's
and one off the
intense.
bottle. So it was a lot of it was I'd rather been there and that experiencing that trauma of two babies than be in the United States than I have been in and
Okay,
having
so
to go back to
so
work and
being a newer a mom again with little children, you feel as though it was easier being in Honduras as opposed to being in the States? You felt more, did you have support from his family? Did you, support as
Yes,
in, okay, that's good. So you had
yes.
like
I had the
support from the
support,
family.
but I was very secluded. Like I like my privacy. So when I
Hmm.
get into my home, there's no gathering at my home. Like that was I went and visit. I it was it's I still like my space. So
Hmm.
again, I didn't speak the language, so it's like I couldn't hear or speak. So no one understood me, and I didn't understand them.
Hmm.
So um, I spent a lot of time in the house raising kids,
Okay.
and I drove to San Pedro on a weekly basis. I did the grocery shopping. Like I took a job at one point when I went to register my daughter for school.
Hmm.
They to international school. They were like, "You speak English?" And I was like, "That's all I speak." And they were like,
Got a
"You want to?"
job.
Yeah, they like, "You want a job?" And I was like,
Hmm.
"I don't understand Spanish. Like, we just need your English. We need your English. Not they don't want they want your English um to be first language. That means you can't
Hmm.
have learned born
Hmm.
Spanish.
They need a native English speaker.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's very
that's a big
different.
marketing ploy. Yeah, that's a big marketing ploy, and
And
it's a big boost for the school.
yeah, so if you're looking to move, one of the professions that you can 100% count on um, is is teaching. Go to a nice international school and just speak English, and they'll give you a nice classroom, and they'll pay rent. They will allow the kids to go to school. You negotiate, and
Hmm. Hmm.
that's one way.
That's
It's
what
not.
I did. Hmm.
Oh wow, okay.
Hmm.
So luckily I researched before I left, and I'm in a profession that I have a tax company, and it's always been very small because I was always a real estate professional. So, but I've always
Hmm.
had a tax company, and I had a book of business that just supports me, and so I was able to continue. Every year, you can do your taxes here, or you can and just let make your money in 3 months. So I was able to. You just kind of prepare. I took classes. What was it? Medical billing and coding classes.
You were hustling.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to think, how am I going to make
multi-skilled.
money? You
That's
have to
smart.
think, how are you going to make
Multiple
money
streams. Absolutely.
if the worst thing you want to be in a financial situation outside of your country,
Hmm.
and you have to make sure that you can get back.
Yeah, think on your feet.
Hmm.
So the time when you were in Honduras, how long were you there, and how did that transition back? How long were you in Honduras, and then what made you leave Honduras to come to the States again?
Um, so I went February of 2017, and
Hmm.
in September of 2017, I came back.
Hmm.
So I stayed there about 8, 9 months
Hmm.
total. Um,
Hmm.
I went, of course, because my husband was deported. I wanted to give him a chance to raise his children and give me
Hmm.
a chance to decompress and just do something different.
Hmm.
Um, he's he was he was a very volatile person. It wasn't the typical person that you think, oh, he drinks. He didn't have a drinking or drug problem or anything. He was just a border. He was just I was very just an abusive person. He's
Okay. So
he,
yeah, that's
yes.
he had to
He
go.
and
Okay.
he and I it would get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is not healthy. Like at a certain point, he's gonna beat me. So
Hmm.
and
And
it
you're in
was
this foreign country,
I'm
very
in this part
vulnerable.
very
Hmm.
vulnerable. Even though I was not a he didn't scare me. It was it was because it was it was I don't know. You're in an abusive relationship. I've never like been beat, but when you're in an abusive relationship, you just don't really know you're in one. It's
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
no I don't know. It was weird.
Hmm.
So
No, no, I understand. Yeah, and abuse comes from so many different ways. When you're in it, it's hard to see clearly.
yeah.
So
Oh, he
I'm
was
I'm happy.
physically abusive. He was physically abusive, but it
Oh.
didn't get to the point where he was beating me.
Oh no.
And,
So
and
abuse is
so
abuse, a physical
abuse is
abuse,
abuse is
mental.
abuse. It was
Yeah.
getting to the point where, okay, he doesn't see me as a person. I think it was getting to the point where I said, okay, let me, I want to, he was disturbing my peace. I could have stayed there, but
No, absolutely. I
um,
understand.
I loved it, absolutely loved it, but
So
it
you
was
grew
not
to love your
healthy.
life in Honduras. Well, outside of the marriage situation,
Yes, he was in the
you grew to love
way.
your. Okay.
He was in the way.
I know
Um,
that's right.
but 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 then I do have, we only have two children together. I have two other children that they also need their mother, and I have one black child that I did take with me that did
Mhm.
not. She picked up on the language and the experience. She started, she was okay with that curve, but it was not fair because she still have a father, so um he was not worth justifying taking that away from her at that age.
Okay.
And then you
I
have two
understand.
babies that you gotta understand that they're growing a bond, and they're you can't take away children. You can't, when the children get 3, 4, 5 years old, you have to make choices that they're not going to remember when they're 1 and 0. And I realized that this ain't my battle.
Okay.
This ain't my
Okay.
battle for
That's
so
not your
many
battle.
reasons. Yeah.
Okay.
And so
So
I
all
was
of
like,
all
I'm
of this
gonna return.
culminated. You're going to
Yeah,
return. And
I'm gonna
how was
return.
that? Now, how was the return back to the United States for you and the children, minus, daddy, minus the husband? How did you adjust back to American life?
Um, Before I left, I sold everything. Excuse me. Before I left, I sold everything. Um, it was, when I got back, it was like, when I got off the plane, it was like the world was doing this, but I was not. And it still gives me, like, I had, when I talk about it, when we talk, I know how to manage it now, but it gave me anxiety where I had to. I don't have any issues with my heart or anything like that, but after I came back, I had my blood pressure issues. I was I was a little overweight, a little bit from having kids, but I was always a good fair weight for my, I was, but I don't think I was overweight, but I started, what I realized that was anxiety, and what the doctors realized, because I kept questioning it. I just didn't allow them to give me medicine. They just, because when I came back, I stepped into, everything was going so fast. And when you get adjusted to a life outside the United States, you just see the United States going fast, but you're going slow. So here you feel like, you have about 8 hours. Hold on one second.
Hmm.
Hey, I'm on the phone. Can you step outside? I'm in the meeting. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, ho- um, Hold on one second.
Hmm.
Say it. Oh, tell him I'm in the meeting. Uh, I'm sorry. So
That's fine.
when you're
You're a
outside
mommy. Hmm.
and they're coming home from school,
Oh
so
Lord, we ain't
so
planned this right.
oh, that's okay.
Mhm.
Um, you're in a more relaxed mode, and when you get back, you got to get back on the freight train, and
Yeah, you got to get
and
back on the freight train. Hmm.
and you realize so much. Like, you realize to really appreciate your country, but
Hmm.
I realized that we just working so hard for what? It doesn't matter.
So, adjusting to, the different pace of life, your eyes have been changed or expanded, or your perspectives, you've experienced a different way of life. What are the what have you taken away from Honduras that maybe you still keep with you as you transition back to the States? What do you remember about your life there that kind of came back with you from Honduras?
The simplicity of of life, just not
Mhm.
this whole like the it's a lot of things that I don't strive for. I don't strive to purchase a home. Even though I was a mortgage professional for 22 years, I don't strive to do a lot of things that's unnecessary. Uh, I
Mhm.
don't I don't have to have a car every. I don't have to have a certain things in life. I just keep it simple, very very simple.
Mhm.
Um, it's shown me to appreciate life a lot more. A lot of the things I'm happy that I'm in New Orleans because we have a lot of different ethnicities here. They're very diverse. So you can go to Arabic
Mm.
supermarket. You can go to just like it would be in New York or something. You can go to
Mhm.
different supermarkets. So they have a lot of Honduran places where I can get the things that I enjoyed in Honduras.
Okay.
Back, yeah, like the banana soda.
Okay.
Like the banana soda was,
Oh, that sounds good. I've never had
I
banana
know,
soda.
it's addictive.
Is it? It sounds. I've never
It's
had,
not
and I
even,
like
no, it's
bananas.
not good for you at all. It's the most
Oh,
horrible thing for you in the world, probably.
oh, I've
But
never heard of that banana soda, but it's good, right?
it's so good.
Okay. She gotta
Yeah,
be on my try list. So now that, here we are because, 2017 is when I made my transition. And now here we are, we're 5 years later, right?
yeah.
What why move back, or why leave the country again? Like, what is the motivation now to leave, and how are you again? How is your community? How are they receiving that? Your family and friends, or how is that all going for you?
Um, hold on. I'm hold on. I'm recording. Hold on 1 second.
Hmm.
Uh huh. That's my husband.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Ask me that again.
How is the what made why move again
Oh,
back? Why leave the country again? And also, how are the family and friends, the community, what do they think about you leaving again? And how are the children adjusting?
um, I knew that I was going to retire out of the country. That once I come back, make money, and get come back where I have a better game plan as far as financial game plan, more solid that I know can thrive. I'm not for sure that I'll forever be able to do taxes outside of the country. So there's things that I needed to. I wouldn't want to rely on the government to, and I don't know where the tax preparers are going in the next 10 years. So you
Hmm.
have to. I had to come back and re-prepare. I
Hmm.
have, I can't rely on a mortgage license outside of the country. So I
Hmm.
had to gain better skills, and I had babies that needed to go to school. So I um I just said it's not time. But as as I see things different now. My lenses are different. When I see the media, I saw it from afar when I was there. It's like a circus. So I
Hmm.
see kind of straight through the whole politics, and so it's more. I think I'm kind of more advanced than what people see what's going on here. So I just want to get to a place that I can that's more just simple.
More simple.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's talk about the the children are all older now.
Yeah.
And how are the littles, I'm assuming maybe now they're they're 5, 6 year olds. How are the youngest children? What do they think about, leaving and moving, or maybe it's an adventure for them, they don't quite understand because
Um,
they're still quite young, they're
well,
still quite
yeah,
young.
they're quite young. They communicate with their dad,
Hmm.
and actually he came back in December.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, he it's what it is.
Long story.
Long
Long
story,
story, yeah.
but he
Yeah.
did come back. He wasn't
Hmm.
he made the journey back,
Uh-huh.
not on a legal basis, but they were
Okay.
able to see him, and he's gotten a chance to build a relationship that because they have a phone relationship and an internet relationship, but they've
Okay.
never that bond is that they gotta they've always known him as dad, and that now they got
Hmm.
to meet him, and you
Hmm.
know and so they're that. they don't understand. They're not going to understand until they get over into another arena and hear
Hmm.
chickens in the middle of the night that they in Honduras. They think, oh, I'm leaving. We going to. They don't know.
They don't know. So
No,
how is so you're going to bring? I know you're going to bring a
the
an
11
older
year old,
kid with you. Okay, how
11.
is that a boy? That's your boy, one of
She's
your
a
your son?
girl. Yeah,
Oh,
she's a
okay,
girl.
one of
Yeah.
your baby girls. And how what does she think about it?
Jury's still out.
Okay,
Jury's still out.
okay.
She's excited about, like when she left, she didn't appreciate until other kids say, "Oh, you went to hunt." Oh, they want to know. Now she talks about it, but now I don't know. We'll see. We have to. I just If you make it a big issue, it'll be a big issue. We're humans, and the last thing I want to do is shelter her to a point where she don't understand that you're limitless as far as travel and experiences. You know, she
What
just
do the what do the older children think about you moving back? The big one,
um
the
they probably don't believe me.
Oh, really? You think so? They think
No
you're
one
talking?
believes anything until I've like 2 weeks before I'm doing something. They're like,
Okay.
okay. So now that I've had my first yard sale, I got the juice bar up for sale on the marketplace, and I'm doing
Now, but
sketches.
let's talk about your entrepreneurship. Let's talk about this juice bar. What made you open a juice bar?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I don't know. I saw
Mhm.
at first it was more of it was the next best business that was growing, and this is fruit. I can do it anywhere. It's a
Mhm.
culture. It it was I had the anxiety issue, so it tied into that. So I just want to do something different than being in the office, and so I started juicing because of my trying to get a grasp onto my high blood pressure issue. It would just spike
Oh
and
my.
right. So it find out it was anxiety.
Mhm.
Um, but I just woke up and just said, I'm going to do a juice bar. They wouldn't let me do it out of my home. So I opened the juice bar, and my daughter and I, and it was, it was nothing that we expect. Like we have not slept. We would be in the juice bar to 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, prepping fruit.
Cause oh, okay.
The whole family, we didn't know what we did. So, um, it's tiring. She's so a year and a half later, um, I'm just tired. I don't want to work that hard.
I soft life. Trying to figure out how to have a soft life.
Trying to fit, and you know what? If
Mhm.
I want to work this hard, it's going to be on the beach in Cortez. It's going to be somewhere that I enjoy. Not your. It's just I don't the, the entitlement of people on the customer service side is beyond my professionalism
Mhm.
sometimes. So I can only be so nice, and it's an overload of people that don't appreciate you. And on this side of business, it's the demand in the United States for food. I don't know what's going on other places, but people don't cook anymore. And like I just said, I'm gonna be off this week. Like I just said I was really gonna go open again, but and you have people that get really upset when you're not open. Like you owe them to. I'm like, don't you have a vacation on your job? You
So let
got
me this juice bar is it it has its own commercial space,
hmm
and you're transitioning out of the juice bar business. Do you think that you will maybe carry it into Jamaica? Well, let me not give that away. Do you think you will continue? You're a serial entrepreneur, so do you think you'll do a juice business again in another country, or an actual, there's online business is one thing, but you had an actual, establishment
brick
maybe
and
an actual,
mortar.
yeah, that's it, brick and mortar. Would you do
Um,
that again abroad?
I would in the right situation. Jamaica does not have a we our biggest things are our bowls and are being all natural. So we have these what's called smoothie or acai bowls. We call them smoothie bowls, but people think they're all acai, but it's acai bowls, and it's that's a big reason why we draw big crowds or a lot of people. It's constant. That's where our demand comes from. So Jamaica does not have one, I've heard, because we have a military base here. We have a military in our parish. So we get a lot of military and people that it's like, hey, you guys nailed it. They don't we can't even get the side this way how we sorbet like from only from Hawaii, or it's very few people do theirs the way we do ours. So I would, but it's not a something that I would even consider in the next. I just want to relax. It's not.
Okay.
I wanna be a minimalist. I don't. I wanna. I don't
So let
know.
me ask you, I don't know the process for um, what is the immigration or migration process? Do you know for, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Why we were talking about this off camera.
Yeah.
Why transition through Jamaica? I want you just to share with us. Jamaica is the place where she's going to transition. So they're leaving the
Oh.
states, spending time in Jamaica, and then they'll move
Yeah.
on. Why Jamaica? And I had said to you, well, why not another Virgin Island or maybe even a Puerto
Yeah. Puerto
Rico
Rico.
or a Belize? Belize is, they speak English and it's Central America. It's neighbors to Honduras. Um, why not those countries? Why Jamaica?
And that's if we're able to financially. If we're able to, because we can understand the language in Jamaica. I will be
Hmm.
traveling with my now husband, which
Hmm.
is American. He doesn't speak any other language, and he's never been out of the country.
Hmm.
So I would like him to be able to relate to something if he goes. And then there's other this we're not dead set on Honduras. There's reasons we pick Honduras strategically and for the children, for the babies, in which he played a major role in the raising. We've been together since these babies were 2, and he since so he's played a major role in raising the children. So um, I want him to experience life and see if he likes it. If you go to a different culture where he can't understand the language, he probably would. The culture shock would break a person and just say, "I want to go home," rather than just relax and so I would like him to just decompress. And it's hard to go from American stuff to embracing the culture. So we need to kind of concentrate on the obstacles of just de-Americanizing ourselves.
De-Americanizing. Now that's a new term.
I just made
That's
that
a
one up.
that's a new term. Yeah, that's a new term because I,
Yeah.
I haven't I haven't heard that term before. Um, what did your husband think when you came up with this idea? This notion. Hey, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm getting. I want to live my time. My retirement time as my children age out. I want to be in another country. What was formulating in his head? What was he thinking?
I've always said it from the time he's what's your goals, and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna be in the country after I reach a certain age. I'm gonna start acting crazy, and I'm gonna leave the country.
Okay.
So no matter what, I'm not gonna be here as soon as I
Hmm.
can figure this out. He's heard me, but it's not the United States right now makes it very logical to leave the country. Like it's not a sales pitch. It's like either you get out, either you're something's you got to wake on up and kind of smell the coffee what's going on around you. Either you're gonna have to you're not aware of things is going on. So it's not a sales pitch. It's not hard looking at the news and say, you know what, I kind of want to get away from this.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
uh 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it's why would you leave your comfort? It was comfortable until you realized you didn't really, you're American. But now it's kind of embarrassing. I don't know what's going on here, and you got a lot of things going on everywhere. But for the return, it's not worth it. For
Mhm.
what you get in return, it's
So let me ask you, you're going to be maybe a bit transient for some time, trying to adjust, and I think it's a good idea. Basically, you're setting yourself up for a soft landing in an English speaking environment. That's what I did when I left. When I first traveled out of the country, I went to England. And my rationale was like, well, they speak English, and we got family there. That was, I'm 21 years old.
Okay.
Um, that was my first thought when I spent time there. Let me ask you, how are you planning on educating the children? You're going to do like, is it world schooling, online schooling? How is that going to work?
Um, hopefully, so for the last 2 years, I've homeschooled my 11-year-old, my now
Okay.
11-year-old. And in
Okay.
Honduras, I ended up homeschooling her.
Okay.
I'm really not interested in that anymore. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't want.
And listen, soft life, soft
Yes,
life.
I did. She deserves the. She's so they're in school now, and
Mm-hmm.
all in school. Thank God, at the same school, and what I in my brain, it's going to be more like that summer break in Jamaica. And by the time we get to Honduras, hopefully their school year starts, or wherever we land. I would hope it's Honduras, but you never know. Um, that their school year starts about January, the end of January and February. When I got there before the school year was just beginning. So,
Really? That's
yeah,
interesting. It
yes,
starts at the January, February. It doesn't start like in September or August.
no, it
And then
starts.
well, how long does it go for? How many months?
So it goes. They were like a month before I left, a month or so before I left.
So you left in when? September?
I left in September, so maybe July or August or something. That the school year was ending.
That kind
Um,
of makes sense. New year, new school year. I don't know where this August September thing came about.
I don't
But so the beginning of the year is it starts the school year.
that their
Okay.
school year, yes.
And they go to
Um,
school for about 6 months. Is it a shortened school year?
I'll look it up, but I because I before
I'm
I left,
interested.
I applied for a
Mhm.
lot of schools to teach as
Mhm.
English, but I didn't take those positions. I when I got there, I interviewed, and it wasn't. I didn't need to do that. When you immerse yourself in the community, you'll get a
Mhm.
job teaching. They don't. They speak. You hear you speak English, you're a hot commodity. And
That makes sense. Yeah. I
yeah,
wonder if I know in El Salvador, um, there's a lot of call centers that are because a lot of people in El Salvador, they have high levels of English. So there's a lot of call centers that service in the American market, um, like the Philippines or India. I'm
okay.
wondering if that's the same case. That might be some industry to, if you're interested in to look into if they have a high level of English speakers like your ex-husband, he's an English speaker. He's a perfect example of someone who would work in a
Would
call
get
center.
yeah. He
Hmm.
would.
Yeah, because
He he,
he speaks
he
English
would.
like a
He's
native or what have you.
yeah. So
And
when he went back to Honduras and they would hear him speak English, like they were like, "Where you learn to speak English?" Because to him he was broken English, but there it's fluent. It's very
hmm hmm no,
um
absolutely. A lot of people end up being really successful because
after they pay
obviously they're paying locals much less than they would pay someone from the United States, but it's still considered a very
the
middle
wage,
class. It's still considered, good money. I don't know what the dollar, what the Honduran money. I don't know what their money
the
is compared to the
exchange,
U.S. dollar. Yeah, I don't know.
23 every 23 lempiras is one
Hmm.
dollar.
Okay, so that's not too far off.
From
The
peso.
peso is like
Yeah,
1920, depending 18, 1920. So it's not that. I mean, it's actually better in terms of you're going there with dollars. If it's every $1 for 23 lemparas, ¿cómo se llama?
lempiras.
What's the name?
Yeah.
Lemparas?
Lempiras, yeah, lempiras, yes.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to know. Let me see what else I have to ask you. What would you do differently from when you first went to Honduras to now with this, till now, the second time, making your
Hmm.
life abroad.
Bring my own sand to the beach, or by myself. I did. I
That's
really
funny.
did a good research. Like I didn't. I went financially prepared. I went not needing any independent. I went very, very independent. But
Mm-hmm.
I would not, I would bring my own sand to the beach.
Own sand to the beach. Maybe you should explain that to people. Not everyone understands or knows that phrase. What is bringing sand to
Man,
the beach?
bring your own man or your own woman. Uh, you know, the, you don't have to be with a person from in that country, or you don't have to marry a person in that country to be in that country. Just from my experience, I
No,
just,
but you went there with your ex-husband, right? So you
yeah,
went there
you
with
know,
him.
yeah. So that's
And you're
not the
doing it.
only experience. You can bring your own spouse from
Uh-huh.
the United States to experience that experience with you. You don't have to, you, if you're moving to another country, you don't have to be associated with a spouse from that country to live and thrive.
Oh,
So
I see what you're saying.
yes, because I
I see
thought
what you're
about
saying.
staying myself, and I'm, if I just wanted to be, you know, I would bring
Make your
that.
make your own way make your own way, and you
Yeah,
don't necessarily have to be attached
yeah. Oh
to
my
this
goodness.
individual.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
s- do you know what is your timeline to move?
April, end of April, 1st of May.
Oh,
Yeah, so the
okay.
children, right? My lease on the building is up in April, so that's my,
Okay.
by April I want to have fulfilled all my obligations,
Okay. All right.
and
Sounds like a plan. Are
right,
you excited?
I am so excited. You have no idea.
Okay.
I'm done. You know how you in that mode where you're just kind of treading waters. Just I cannot
Mhm.
wait. Um,
Mhm.
so once you determine that that's something you're gonna do, it's that's what you don't buy things that are long term. Like I see, you know, I wanted a garden. I'm not planting a garden because it's I'm only gonna have a garden till April.
Got you. Yeah, because
And
you're transitioning. You're already you're already on this journey, yeah? You're
yeah,
already an immigrant or an expat, and you're just biding your time now in the States.
right. You're
Mhm.
preparing. So uh, I am I am interviewing. Like I would, I'm going to take a job until tax season comes, just to stabilize myself because I don't need to be in a self-employment role trying to. You got to prepare financially. You got to,
Now,
think
does your
about.
husband, he's also prepared to work remotely?
Oh yeah, he's fine. He actually he had an injury on his job, so he's not working right now.
Okay. Sorry to hear.
No,
Well,
he's
I mean,
fine. He missed a finger. He's fine. He worked in construction.
but he still has his finger, or he
No,
what?
it's not available anymore.
Oh my word.
It's okay. We over it now, but he lost his finger at work, and he's
Oh,
still,
jeez.
yeah. And that's what makes it very hard. Running a juice bar by yourself, I just it's tiring. So
It sounds tiring. It
it
sounds really
is.
intense. If you're working until 2 in the morning, and
Not
juice.
anymore.
Oh,
I limit hours. I'm transitioning out, and I think my customers understand, realize it now because I tell them I'm leaving the country, and they're like, "What? And why you're not open?"
I'm plotting my
Yeah,
great
or
escape. Plotting your
yeah,
great escape. So what would you share? I think what's important is, you're a mom of several children, and our journeys are different because I'm a mom of one. So I only have to think about myself and one other person. What would you share with other women who are interested in doing what you're doing, leaving the country, but they have multiple children? Like, what would you tell them? How would you advise them?
um, strategically plan. The biggest things with children, you got to be able to be accessible, and have you're still American. You if you were leaving, treat it like an extended vacation. Close the book here, put everything in storage. Don't give up your life completely, but get to your necessities, your memorabilia, put that stuff in storage, and just put one foot in front of the other. Plan. It didn't take me long for me to plan my first exit, which it was probably about October, November, December, January, for 4 months for me to sell everything that I wanted to sell. And um, just make sure you can research and see what you have to do to get children's passports, because there are laws, and you can't just enter countries your- with with people kids. If the kids got papers, they have to, you gotta do your due diligence. Even with my ex-husband, I had to I had to get things for him to sign for those children to leave this country to visit him, to come go to his country. So make sure that you do your due diligence and research before you apply for your passports and meet all the requirements. If the if you're I love to tell the if you're going through any type of divorce, if your spouse has been deported, put in the verbiage in your divorce decree that you don't need his permission to enter or exit countries, and for your passports, you don't need his permission to renew or sign for the passports. That's very important verbiage in your decrees, even that, in your child custody decree, that you should put in there if you have children born of two nationalities or that have to travel. So just do your due diligence and prepare. Don't get stuck in the country. Don't get
Prepare,
stuck in.
prepare, prepare. Do your due diligence. Yeah, make sure you understand the immigration and migration laws. Obviously, you have to have things apostilled for your children's and yours official documents. Look up what apostilled, what that is.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, like you said, put one foot in front of the other. Um, I don't know. There were two or three people watching. There's two people that I see here. If you
Oh,
have any questions you'd like to ask April, you can ask now before we end the broadcast. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask now. Let me put it in the chat here. Any
oh,
questions? Then we
yeah.
can we can we can we can conclude.
I would definitely do it. It takes an average of about to live in the United States for 6 months with a family of like four. You're gonna take $50,000 to, and sometimes you it doesn't take that much to live outside the country and decompress. If you're a young mother, you just do it and just
Yeah, for
expand.
those of us that earn dollars or euros, yeah, those of us with a stronger currency access, then we make those dollars stretch.
Yeah, take
Um,
take your taxes during tax season. A lot of mommies, you got three children, you get $10,000 back.
Make
Leave.
sure you get monies that will continue to come in, though. You know,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
make
Make sure
sure
you can have
you
access
need,
to money, but
yeah,
um
it, have a plan, but it's definitely doable if you have your finances in order.
and you
Because
don't have to
I
live. You don't have to stay. Just say, hey, I'm gonna leave for 3 months and just decompress.
Absolutely. I say that too. I agree with that. I was in the States for about 3 months this year, and it's like, okay, I have the privilege of kind of being by country. You spend
Yeah.
some time there, take care of some things there for myself and my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I'm over it. Let me go back to Mexico,
Country.
So, and I don't feel like going back to the States anytime soon, and I think I'm blessed to be in that position.
Wow.
Rambling Rose Homestead said, very good information. No questions here, but thanks for sharing blessings. Thank you, Rambling
Oh, thank
Rose
you.
Homestead. We appreciate you. So, um, that will, I guess, conclude our chat today. This is April Sanchez Watts, and she is a sister who is moving with her family abroad to the Caribbean as well as to Central America.
Hmm.
As she told you, she's decompressing. She's a financial advisor. She's a business owner. What's the name of your juice bar?
Urban Beats. URBANBEETS Juice JUICE.com. But Urban Beats Juice in Belle Chase, Louisiana.
Urban Beets juice.com. And where in Louisiana?
Belle Chase
Uh huh.
BELLECHASSE. So Urban
Louisiana.
Beats. Hmm.
Okay, I love that name.
See it?
So it's unfortunate she's closing. She ain't fooling with y'all no more. But if you're in Bells Chase, Louisiana, please look up Urban Beats, Beets.
Yeah,
Okay, please look up Urban Beats. Let me see, my internet is acting up.
yeah.
Okay, well, I thank you, April.
Oh, thank
Any last
you.
words that you want to share before we come off? We
Just
close
do it.
the
If you're thinking
broadcast.
about it, just do it. Experience something else. This is, you got the support of a lot of people that are that's encouraging you, and that's what you need: a support system and encouragement. Get a part of these groups and communicate with the girls and men that have took the
Yeah,
journey,
this is a
embrace it.
constant theme. Be with like-minded people who are
Yeah,
interested, who are doing similar or the same that what you're doing. There's a lot of information sharing. Like I always say, Facebook is what got me to Mexico. Outside of the angels, Facebook got me to Mexico because I utilized it as a resource tool, and that's how I learned about life in Mexico and everything. So definitely be with people who are like-minded, because people who are not like-minded will more than likely be negative and discourage you. you
and
know
it's not a
so
dialogue that you could have on it every day with typical Americans. They're not gonna. Now they're more, they'll have conversations about. They're intrigued about it, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people thought, "Why are you leaving the country? That's crazy. You're gonna get killed."
I can get killed in a church. I can get killed
Yeah,
in the supermarket.
like New Orleans.
Hmm. Exactly. So this is what I tell people when they tell me about violence in Mexico, and I'm like, well, violence is universal. It's not exclusive to any one particular place. I thank you so much for taking the time with me today. Thank you, April.
Oh, thank you.
All right, y'all have a good one. This is the Bangura Chronicles Diaspora Voices, and y'all have a good one. See y'all when I see y'all. Bye. Okay, and